What's going on, everyone? Gilman with Live Wealthy Stocks back with our daily Apple update video where we take a look at how Apple stock traded today, some key support and resistance levels to look out for moving into the future, and in today's case we'll take a look at why the stock is up 5% today. Really quickly cover that and then move on to how the stock's been trading and how the future resistance and support levels look like. So real quick, if you enjoy videos like this, hit that like button down below and subscribe to my channel. I try to do daily Apple update videos where we take a look at the price action for the day, as well as some other stocks as well. So wasting no more time, we'll get right into it. So as we could see here, we are up $6.10 for the day, which is 5%. Now let's really quickly take a look at why this happened. And so this morning there were news that Apple was trying to increase their iPhone production by almost a 30% increase from pre-pandemic pace of 2019, with around 96 million slated for the first half of the year. They want to produce up to 230 million iPhones next year. Now, I know that this is something that we've been discussing for those of you that, talk down in the comment section, and I know that I've said this over and over again too, but the iPhone 12 is the first 5G iPhone, and it's got something that, typically over the course of the years when Apple announces updates, a lot of times wouldn't have, right? Maybe a slightly better camera, maybe a slightly better processor that you probably aren't even going to be able to see the difference in when you use it, let's be real. But this time it's actual technology, right? It's the ability to use 5G, the latest and greatest kind of internet out there. So the fact that this news came out, really drove the stock price up, in my opinion. And I think that this is great news for the stock moving forward. And, last week, Apple got a bump from $10 or $10 bump from 150 to 160 from an analyst on Wall Street. So iPhone sales are up. Great news for the stock. Stock moves up. Now you have to understand that 5% for a growth company like Neo and a lot of companies that we're seeing, Palantir, right? That's fine, right? Because these companies are still growing. But for a $2 trillion company to move 5% in a day is huge, right? And it doesn't happen on a daily basis. So we cherish the moments when it does happen. So let me kind of compare that to the Nasdaq, which was up about 1.25%. The Dow was up 352 points, which is again 1%. And then the S&P was up 1.35. So as we could see, in the low, like 1.25 was kind of where these indexes were at. And Apple was 4 times that at 5%. I'm so happy because I've been making videos on Apple for a really long time now. And every time it was just Apple doing, for a long time it was Apple doing nothing. So to see it finally break out was great. So let's take a look at kind of the daily price action here. So right out of the gate, right, what we had was so yesterday we closed in the low 120s, and at that point we were thinking, okay, do we go down to test the 120-150 level of support? Do we move up? Obviously we got news. News is not something we can predict, right? So we were looking at the information we had. We gapped up and we opened kind of around the 124s. Right out of the gate, Apple shot up to 127s, looked really beautiful. The gap between this and VWAP was widening. Now, there was a lot of volume as well. So that's why the VWAP was moving just as much. The volume today was 156 million. Average volume is 123. So a little bit more volume than usual today, but we moved up. Then we came back down to revisit VWAP, and here's kind of where it wasn't looking too pretty, right? When we broke below VWAP, we were pushing but couldn't break it, pushing but couldn't break it, pushing but couldn't break it. And each time that we failed to go above VWAP, we would have a lower low than the time before, right? And that's when, I thought that we were going to see a little bit of a sell-off, which is fair because it was, still above that 125 mark, and that's the level that I kind of wanted it to hold. So I was waiting on the sidelines and seeing I had my long Apple stock position. But, starting this point on again, when it broke VWAP, went below, kind of found support right below it. And then for the rest of the day, it was the distance between the VWAP and Apple stock's price separated. And we close all the way up here, which is great news for the stock, right? So again, the high that we reached today was 128. So we knocked out some levels of resistance that we had discussed yesterday. The next level of resistance kind of still stands because it's in the 128s. So we'll take a look at that next. Now let's take a look at the daily chart and see what we see. So we've got a beautiful looking candle here, all right? A huge green candle, not something we've seen often, right? Looking back. So great little gap up and go. So taking a look at, from a price level resistance, right? We have now been as high as we were until, if we go back to September 3rd. September 3rd, we were at 128.84. That's the next level to shoot for on Apple stock, assuming we can break 128s. And then that takes us to the day before, which was September 2nd, which was all-time high for Apple. So if we make it back there, it's only, time will tell, supply and demand will kind of decide where Apple stock goes, which is super exciting. I know for those of us that are holding the stocks, those are kind of levels of resistance. There really aren't many right now just because of the huge move up today, taking it to kind of, 2 levels that we were at before we kind of dipped and kind of been stagnant for a while. So great to see Apple finally getting to those levels that it was in early September and taking its sweet time to do it, because that means that now it actually is going up for the right reasons. Now, on the other side, anytime a stock goes up 5% in a day that I wasn't expecting to, my first thought is, do we see a little bit of a pullback? That could be happening as well. As we saw, we're pretty separated from the VWAP, which means we ended, a much higher price than the average price based on volume and price, right? So do some people want to cash in on a quick 3, 4, 5% in a day in a safer investment like Apple? Potentially. And that's something that I'm always kind of mindful of, right? So let's take a look at our moving averages. We don't really have anything, and we do have one all the way down at 120.52, and then the 50-day coming in at 118.15. If we do decide to go that low, we should see those support levels. But from an EMA perspective, right, we've got the 8 EMA coming in at 123.44. I love looking at the AEMA as on the daily chart because it typically acts as good support, as it did back here when Apple was kind of on an uptrend. We dipped below it for a little bit, but even when we dipped below it, we found support at the 21 EMA, and that comes in right at 121.17. So 123.44, my first level of support after today's low of 124.13. So I'm looking at that low of today at 124.13. Then I'm looking at the 8 EMA at 123.44, and then I'm kind of collectively looking at that 121.50 level of support that we've tested, and 21 EMA coming in at 121.17. So 121.50, 121.17 around that level as my third level of support if we do see a sell-off happening tomorrow. And then, we've also got some more EMAs down at 117, and then or 119 and 117 if for some crazy reason we see a huge sell-off, uncertainty in the market, all that good stuff. That's what I see in the stock. From a price level perspective, right, we've made a higher high, higher low for 3 days now, which is great news for the stock, which means the low of the day before also should be a good level of support. But as we see here, one of our lows of the day before is in line with our 121.50 line, and then this one is in line with our 21 EMA as well. So, I think that the levels that I just mentioned, those 3 are what I'm looking at for support. And then the resistance, we've got 2 coming up. Great momentum for Apple stock today. We're only down 17 cents after hours. But the only thing that I am mindful of is we went up 5% today. So we could see not a strong pullback, a little pullback. Totally fine. A little bit of profit taking, because as you could see, other stocks like Google was only up 0.5%, Amazon was only up 0.25%, Zoom was up less than 1%, and Tesla was actually down 1%, right? So all that to say, Apple did really well today, and a little bit of profit taking is could be possible. But at the same time, if the momentum's there tomorrow, we could knock out that 128.30s and push towards that next resistance of the all-time high. So hope you guys found this video helpful. I know we've been waiting for, a push like this for a really long time, excuse me. And to see it finally happen is great news. Let me know down in the comment section if you guys were able to catch that move, or if your stocks are looking good, your Apple stocks, and I'd love to chat with you guys down there. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed. You guys have killed it with the support lately, and I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Let's remember to be a bit better every single day, and until next time.